majority of the children who are they are invested in the public schools, right? We do have private sector here, it's very vibrant, flourishing, but the majority of the population, they go to the public schools. So how to make sure that you uplift their situation, how to make sure that their enrollment increases, and not just that, their attendance also increase with a lot of incentives.
Exactly. And Haja, in addition to this, obviously I really want to get rid of whatever 50,000, 60,000 I'm paying per month for a private school for my child's education. Imagine, Alhamdulillah, my 3 daughters go to a private school. Imagine that, if we kind of get that trust from a public institution, I'd be like, wow, that's what I want. But while we're at it, I think what we really need to talk about is, are we lacking in education? Are we lacking in economic development? Are we lacking in infrastructure development? I think with all of these questions, it gets too negative. I think we have a gentleman who's going to answer all of these things, whether we are lacking behind or not, or if we are, and if we agree to it, which I think should be the case as well. How are we moving ahead of all the other nations who are out there and are called developed?
And the gentleman is heavily invested in the IT parks and the e-Rozgar centers that he launched in Islamabad. So to unfold this conversation, we are very glad that we have been joined by Federal Secretary, who happens to be in the Ministry of Federal Education and Professional Training. He happens to be Mr. Mohyuddin Ahmad Wani. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Sir, wonderful to have you over here.
So let's unfold our conversation. You have done such an amazing initiatives in the public schools in Islamabad. So please tell us the success stories, what are the initiatives and how are they impacting the children's education?
Basically, all these initiatives are in continuation of my previous tenure as Chief Secretary Gilgit-Baltistan, where I started these initiatives, and now I have scaled it up in Islamabad.
Wonderful.
So I started with the school meals program. So 48% of the kids of Islamabad, they are stunted or malnutrition. So they are not healthy. If you are not healthy, you will not study, you will not learn. And sometimes your poverty and your lack of resources by your family doesn't allow you to study in a school. So a lot of dropouts or a lot of lack of enrollment. So we started school meals program in Islamabad. At this moment, 55,000 government school kids are being fed by hot meals.
And what sort of meals are being provided?
Hot meals, cultural meals, rice, bread, vegetable, pulses. So it's a mix of also that the kids are attractive and all nutritional requirements are fulfilled. The school meal has started and the enrollment has gone up by 25%.
Wow.
And attendance has gone up by from 60% to 95%.
Wow.
Yeah, and then this is being extended by end of this year. It will be 87,000 students in the primary schools of government schools. Secondly, we have invested in technology.
About IT parks, right?
Yes. Technology.
Yes.
Technology, but IT park was like the finale. It started with smart classrooms in schools. So we established 350 smart digital classrooms with LMS systems, access to video edited content, training of the teachers for blended learning. And then we established 75 state-of-the-art IT labs in government schools in urban and rural areas.
For girls and boys both?
Both. And 100 more are being added in next 3 months. We are going to solarize 125 schools of Islamabad by end of this year. Then we hired computer technology fellows through public-private partnership who are going to train students in coding and AI in primary schools from today. 150 schools. So it has started. We have started robotics curriculum. We have started financial literacy curriculum. We have started foreign languages, German, Korean, Japanese, Chinese, Arabic. So 1,000 batches is being started. We have converted all the degree colleges into high impact IT training institutes. And 6 months courses of data science, AI and blockchain are being run by NUST, ComSets, NAML, GIK in these schools. Now coming to IT parks. So in 5 different colleges, technology parks. So colorful ambience, attractive places,
very nice.
Free internet, free electricity, free working space, and a secure area to earn and learn. So you must, seeing is believing. You go and you see and you will enjoy the whole ecosystem.
And sir, we are even sharing visuals as well at this very moment, so everybody can actually see for themselves. Please continue to do so, where, we're talking about the IT parks as well, because I saw the video. It looked like as if it was somewhere, in Europe. You
Yes,
know, it was
very
so
colorful.
magnificent.
So I was involved in everything. In from design to decor to colors. You will see the schools of Islamabad, they have become more colorful. The kids should be attracted. Multicolored paintings, designs, everything. You can see a lot. So we have to make schools so beautiful, attractive, and full of technology, so that the boys and girls from private schools they get.
Sir, also shed some light on the e-Rozgar centers, you know, which is a very prominent feature of this campaign. So please tell us about it.
This e-Rozgar center is part of that IT park.
Okay,
means that the kids will be earning money through freelancing in those software technology parks.
Wonderful. And who is training them?
No, basically they are already trained. It's a working area.
Right.
All right.
And plus there are certain companies which are placing their HR there in that park. We have given them training facilities also, video conferencing facilities also, and they are also connected with big IT labs. So
But
they can use all those.
Sir, the reason why I'm asking this question is, and I think Shehzad and I have been through this system, and we know that, you know, especially if you are in the metric, if you are in your FSC, there is so much crazy pressure on going for the good marks because the board exams are coming up. How do you create the space, you know, of all these practices
within
of the IT
timetable?
Yani
Because teachers will
e-Rozgar
chutti nahi
center.
dega.
Exactly, and teachers are focusing on getting good grades because, you know, that improves their performances, right?
What I have done, the grade 5th exam, board exam has been eliminated. So
Wonderful.
that pressure has been reduced.
All right.
Secondly, we have clubbed certain subjects like Urdu and Pakistan studies has been clubbed, so the same content. So
saving
as
time
an
as well.
integrated learning system has been introduced.
Okay.
And plus zero periods have been introduced. Saturday has been turned on. So for remedial classes, so things are happening. And if the kids enjoy, there is no problem for them to come in the evening also. Then we established 25 gyms, indoor and outdoor in colleges. Then we established mind games rooms for Scrabble, chess and other things. Then we have established podcast corners, lot of anchors to come. You can see in 26 colleges, beautiful podcast rooms have been established. The kids are entering into conversation, developing their own YouTube channel, discussing, so their public conversation skills are improved.
Wonderful, and this will certainly bring back a lot of dollars for us as well. You know, when the children will actually take up on that.
First, you
and
have to
if they're
create
dedicated.
hope, positivity in schools, in the new generation, to eliminate the negativity and toxicity in the system, and to invest in kids. Financial and digital literacy, that has to be embedded in the existing curriculum. Whatever I am adding, it's not non-examination based. It's more of a project-based learning. So there is no examination of financial literacy, entrepreneurship, climate change, and these types.
And it sounds more interesting than a private school anyways now, you know. So imagine that, you know, I think every child would actually want to kind of, you know, imagine if a public school child will be in conversation with a private school child, they'll be like, you know, my school's better than yours anyways.
What I'll suggest, your next show should be in a school,
Inshallah,
in a podcast room.
Inshallah.
Their podcast, sit with them, they're as confident as you are.
And that's exactly what I'm going to kind of request to Miss Sana as well, and Mr. Basit. So Miss Sana, you're actually behind the camera in MCR. Please make sure that we go for the podcast as well. She's not even speaking in my ear yet. She says, yes, we will come as well. Now, sir, in addition to this, I think what we really need to kind of talk about over here is that we have seen a culture of, you know, private schools and whatnot. We have seen how they were schools in houses and homes and whatnot. And, you know, so with public schools, this is always an advantage that we have more space. While we are speaking of IT or whatever, financial literacy, or how we really need to kind of build up, you know, such techniques where we embed all of the future techniques into our future students, are we actually focusing on sports as well over here? Or hum phir unko kamron mein ghusha rahe hain ki bas aap computer
I've told you, James, new basketball courts, colorful. If you see through a drone image, it will look like an NBA environment.
Wow.
Multicolored the courts, tennis. We have given tracksuits to every primary school kid free of cost.
Wow.
We have given new sports equipment to every primary school of Islamabad. So we are on 18th, 19th and 20th, there will be a National Girls Student Sports Carnival in Islamabad.
Wow.
It will be a mega activity, again involving students. Coming week, there will be a space week going on in Islamabad public schools. So you will see a lot of, yes, again, I remember, 125 schools have now been given high-tech telescopes. So the kids should start looking upward.
So building interest.
They're building. So they trigger their imagination. So we have brought the team, technical team who are training the teachers, the students. There was a astronomy night In one of the colleges, 3,000 kids were there till 12 in the night.
right.
So
Wonderful.
you have to create excitement. These are poor kids from poor started
I
society.
remember when I was growing up, I really wanted to be an astronomer, but I did not have the telescopes, right? So if my kids had the telescope, they might want to be an astronomer, but you know.
But you are an astrologer, yeah? That's why.
Oh no, astrologer, no, not at
because
all.
you know that when I brought chocolates, when I went delivered those chocolates to all of my colleagues as well. But in addition
This
to
is
this,
not astrology at all. Please just don't link the conversation. But sir, now let's move our conversation to early childhood education, right? So we have seen, and there are reports, you know, from the WHO, from the even British Council, in which we mentioned that there are informal centers of the learning. So for example, one of that the mention was madrasa system, right? And there is a need and there is a calling to mainstream those informal learning centers. So they are as much important a nursery for a child as, you know, public schools or private schools, right? So your initiative is now limited to the public schools. So in the future, are we looking towards mainstreaming those informal learning centers also, where the children who are going to the madrasas, and we know for a fact that a lot of poor kids, they prefer madrasa because number one, they're free of cost, number two, then there is an entire setup there, there are free lunches, free food out there. So are we expecting our state to invest the madrasas in the same capacity as they're doing in
I
the public
totally
schools?
agree with you with the diagnosis, but the result is again in the process. I did the same in Chilas, in Gilgit-Baltistan. It was highly, madrasa was the first school of learning for them. So when I started school meals program, they started shifting to
Wonderful.
public schools.
Wonderful.
So we started school meals program, but I have reached out to madrasas also. We are introducing skills training program for madrasa students. What I am planning also to involve madrasa students in a collaborative working with the public schools in sports, in debating and other things. But we have to do it in such a way without creating ripples, without creating friction, in a more of a confluence of public, private and madrasa system. So we can do it. Inshallah, we had summer camps in Islamabad in public schools, and the private sector joined us.
Yeah.
So he came to us. So it's not about bringing somebody down. It's to take the public
to
sector
elevate
up.
everybody,
Everybody.
as well.
Yes, yes.
But sir, you know, obviously we're speaking about, you know, schools over here in the capital of the country. Now imagine if we do know that for a fact that it is a very successful plan to implement and triggering the creative side of the children, do you think that in days to come probably it will be, we'll get to see it in Punjab, we'll get to see it in Sindh?
I'm in touch, like the Punjab education.
And how do they respond to this?
No, very positive.
Okay.
The Punjab education minister specially came with his team. He visited our schools and he's in touch with me. He's saying, we are following you up.
Mashallah.
Secondly, the Sindh government is in touch. The Balochistan minister, the secretaries, they come. And they're always coming with that, how can you do it in 4 or 5 months? Give us the recipe. So my recipe is to decentralize your financial and administrative powers to the principals.
Okay.
So 90% of the staff, they should be guided what to do, but give them the money, they will do it themselves. So it will reduce the red tape. So empowerment of financial administration of the principals will help them. Centralize, yes, to certain amount of activities you can do. So this is one way of doing. We have brought, the KP team came, they were also briefed. The Punjab team, the Sindh team, the Balochistan team, everybody's coming.
So when you decentralize, how do you ensure transparency?
They are as honest as we are. If we are honest,
Right,
if you can trust me for transparency, trust them also. They can make mistakes, but they will improve.
But sir, with these sort of initiatives, obviously that requires a lot of teacher training, right? Because I mean, changing their mindset into not teaching into very conventional ways and moving towards more critical thinking skills and more, you know, away from that teacher-centric pedagogy. That requires, I mean, a lot of unlearning efforts, right? And that requires teacher training. So how do you create that culture of delivery out there where teachers
Think
are
about
ready?
anything, and I've done it. I'll tell you what.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
The thing is, we have involved private sector. We have involved Talimabad in teacher training. We have involved Aga Khan Education Foundation.
Wonderful.
Their team specially came. They designed a training module for head teachers. We have involved NUST for maths training. We have involved American Lyceum for early childhood education.
Wow.
We have involved Rupani Foundation. So 6 organizations are already working with us, and we are engaging. So we believe in private sector collaboration with the public sector, because we are funding it. So it's not the private sector, it's us. We can use any money for the public interest. So, and then this coding fellow, AI fellow program, again teachers are being trained by NUST. So the international languages program, teachers are being, resource persons are being trained by NAML. So you have a lot of collaborations going on.
And sir, can we kind of, I mean, I don't know, if it's very pertinent or not, or if it's doable or not, but can we actually open all of these facilities for the people who live in the surroundings as well? For example, if I have to go to the gym, why shouldn't I be going to the local school myself and just use the gym equipment? Probably pay some fee, generate an economic model alongside it. Probably the IT space as well.
Hey, IT space is already allowed for everybody who
So
can,
anyone.
But for the extent of I left it to the principals, because if, the space is limited.
Security and everything.
Space is limited. First, their own kids should get benefit out of it. But hopefully, when the things start moving, it will be expanded and everybody will be beneficial.
Exactly. And in addition to this, sir, I think because every time when I'm coming to my office, I do see these pink buses. What's with the pink buses?
There was a background. Last year in December, I was told in one of the schools that a lot of girls in the last 2 years they have dropped out because their cost of traveling has gone up in the last 2 years because of high fuel prices. So I thought to first there were 60 buses which were dysfunctional for different reasons, lack of no drivers, their tire was gone, their battery was. So I recovered and rehabilitated those buses, plus 20 buses, new buses were dysfunctional because there were no drivers. So we hired 200 drivers and conductors. We rehabilitated all the buses, converted 20 into pink buses, and we started piling them on rural urban routes. So 8,000 girls and teachers are coming free of cost to these urban schools for the last 2 months.
And I think this is how you create a safe space where you allow especially the female students to get the education. And a lot of times we see the resistance coming towards the female education is there are not enough safe spaces, and the patriarchs or the people who are at the helm of the affairs in the households did not allow them to go to acquire the education because of the notion of the honor and the safety, which is very interlinked. But thank you so much, sir, for all of these wonderful initiatives. We are looking forward to such sort of brilliant initiatives and their impact. And you continue to making the very positive impact. And I always say that education is something, if you invest heavily into it, it is always going to pay you back. And this is how we see the society's progress, the country progress, and not just economically, socially, and in other fields.
And that's exactly what I realized today. So if there was the intent, and he made sure that, okay, he's going to decentralize the system, because that's what the recipe is. That's what everybody needs to learn. Yes. To get the job done, what he did was that he made sure that every principal will be responsible for their own school. And obviously, when the federal secretary visits, ladies and gentlemen, the principal will be on his toes too as well. So thank you so much, sir, for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with you, and for everybody who's out there. Ladies and gentlemen, we're heading out towards a short break. When we come back, Haja has actually brought to life a very important topic which we really need to talk about. I think there's very lesser conversation about it. Would you want to shed light, or after a break?
After a short break, we will.